Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. In a shock move this week, Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon announced her resignation. Unquestionably one of the major figures in British politics this century, Sturgeon has served as First Minister and leader of the Scottish National Party since 2014. Her departure appears to leave a vacuum with no obvious successor in place, and other parties are sensing opportunities in Scotland. So here to assess the fallout from a tumultuous week in Scottish politics, I'm joined by the commentator and chair of the newly formed Scottish Union for Education, Stuart Waiton. Thanks very much for joining me today. I want to ask you first and foremost, what are your views on Nicola Sturgeon? Do you think that she was right to resign when she did?
Too little, too late, perhaps. It's a bit of a surprise. I think a lot of people are very happy in Scotland. I think that, as you say, there is a bit of a vacuum. Scottish politics isn't filled with inspiring individuals or policies. But I do think she was quite an important person in terms of. I mean, I watch your show. And all of the trends that you discuss, Nicola Sturgeon was at the pinnacle. She was very, very good at being a caring authoritarian. So the number of laws that they've introduced in Scotland or attempted to introduce, which generally speaking went against the public's will. You know, it's almost you could say in almost every law, whether it's to ban light smacking or to introduce the hate crime law or alcohol pricing and so on. In Parliament, you'd have about 70%, 75% voting in favour. In the public, it was about 70%, 75% against.
So
what you saw in Scotland over the last... Sorry, go on.
In that sense, the gender recognition bill, this is not a unique thing. You know, 2/3 of the Scottish electorate opposed it. The SNP wanted to do it anyway. But as you say, there have been things like the named person scheme, you know, banning 2-for-1 pizzas, these very sort of authoritarian nanny state-ish approaches. So is it just that the SNP are pretty much always out of touch and are solely relying on the issue of independence?
Well, I think what happens is because they have the independence card, it's created a kind of elected dictatorship. So they'll play that card. People are, I think, understandably disillusioned with politics. In Scotland, you have an out, something that can inspire potentially the idea of a new start, which is having an independent Scotland. And so they play that card. And then once that's gone, they just spend their time introducing these new laws, you know, a named person for every child, hate crime laws, banning of light smacking, alcohol pricing. Edinburgh City Council have now introduced a thing where it's going to be a vegan city. So okay. Children, pensioners, people in hospitals, anyone that's in a prison, if they're already there, they'll have to have a vegan diet because obviously, you know, we can't decide what's best for us or our children.
Yeah, at what point, though, will the electorate just get sick of this and boot them out? I mean, the problem is you've even got someone like Humza Yousaf is even in the running for the leadership. He's one of the most authoritarian people in the world, I think. He sort of pushed through this draconian hate speech bill. Will the SNP ever learn?
Well, just to run with the Humza Yousaf thing, I mean, bear in mind that he wanted the hate crime bill to include the punishment for playwrights and actors. Even actors, right? So you're just reading a script, and if it doesn't fit within the framework of not being offensive to whoever, then you could potentially be arrested. I think it was up to 7 years imprisonment. It was playwrights as well. I mean, that was got rid of, but it was against Humza's wish because he thinks playwrights should clearly be being not just cancelled, but arrested and imprisoned for their thoughts.
Well, I think some of them are terrible, but I think that's a bit much. You know, I mean, he also said that people should be arrested if they said hateful things in the privacy of their own home. I mean, do you think it'll be him? Or do you think this will be, you know, Kate Forbes or Angus Robertson or Swinney? Who do you think is going to be the next leader?
Honestly, I haven't got a clue. I mean, most of these people, like most people in Scotland, they mean next to nothing to me. You know, they don't necessarily represent anything. I suspect and worry that the vast majority of them will have a similar mindset because in Holyrood, you just seem to have, you know, this term, the blob, where essentially they talk to each other. And I've been to the Scottish Parliament a number of times to challenge some of their things. And the people that are sitting amongst you, the academics and the professionals, all the people that they like, just speak with the same script, talk about vulnerability, the need to protect people, need for greater safety, and so on. So I don't know.
Okay, well, Stuart,
I can't say.
if you could, we've only got 30 seconds or so, if you could just answer this question. How do we break the deadlock? How do we stop Scotland from continuing to be a one-party state?
Well, a big thing that we're trying to do is trying to explain what's going on in education at the minute. Because in education, if you read the head teacher's documents, any of the documents, they're very upfront that education in Scotland is now about social justice. It's not about education. Education standards are collapsing, and parents, increasingly when they find out about this, the promotion of the transgender approach, for example, the promotion of the idea of whiteness and white privilege, all of these things have now been established in schools. And I think parents, when they find out about this, are going to be up in arms, because this is genuinely a form of social engineering and a dogma that is being forced down the throats of children in Scotland, not just the adults. So hopefully we can manage to do something.
Absolutely. Stuart Waiton, thanks very much for joining me today.